circular and outer longitudinal layers being right here. It appears as though that I do not have an intact serosa on this slide, but if we scanned around, we can probably see some fragments of it hanging out. Okay? So arrangement is identical to the duodenum slide that we saw previously. Now, as I scan around, I'm going to be looking in the submucosa in particular, and then see that purple mass right there? The submucosa is thrown up into a small fold, a small plica here. You can see the submucosa rising up this way. So we're in a plica right there. This mass of dark staining, densely packed cells is a Peyer's patch. Now, it's nothing more than a lymphatic nodule. And if you saw tissue looking like this, in fact, here's some right here. This is clearly in the mucosal layer. See how much darker this is than the rest of the mucosa? This is malt. But the Peyer's patch and the malt are the same tissue type. They just get a different name based on position. That's it. Now, there are a couple of these slides floating around, both duodenum and ileum, where the lymphatic nodule is continuous through the two layers. There's no change between the lymphatic tissue. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that there are some slides that clearly have Peyer's patch in the mucosa that's huge, that sticks up all the way to the epithelium. And so it crosses from submucosa into mucosa. In those areas, what I would suggest is that if you pointed to it where it's clearly in the submucosa, call it Peyer's patch. If you're close to the epithelium, call it malt, because you're in the mucosal layer. So strictly positional. That's it. Other than that, all these lymphatic nodules will always look the same. They're just fixed lymphocytes, very densely packed. Now, some of you are asking me again about the intestinal crypts or the intestinal glands. If we come out to the mucosa and look at the villi, now obviously the villi have been chopped loose here, but the relative spaces between villi are actually pretty spot on as far as what you would see in life. The spaces are obvious between neighboring villi. Once you get down to where they attach to the mucosa, these relatively large spaces between the villi branch into smaller spaces called intestinal glands. And you can see that these spaces are coming down and they're stopping at about this level through here. And then we get into these structures right here. These are all the intestinal glands, also known as the crypts of Lieberkühn. We've got some that are kind of split lengthwise, longitudinally right here. We've got some that are split in cross-section like this. There's a little tiny lumen right in the center of each one of these things, and that means that there must be a epithelium facing that lumen. It's the same epithelium that we see on the surface of our villi, a simple columnar epithelium with goblet cells. And in some of these crypts that are cut in cross-section, there are so many mucus cells present that they look like the petals of a flower going all the way around. This one doesn't, but it's actually fairly common to see quite a few crypts that look that way. There may be some more down here. Yeah, there's a few of them that kind of look like flowers in here. But all of these round structures, these are all crypts right here, but cut in cross-section. So the lumen inside each one is coming out of the screen at you, and the connective tissue elements between the crypts, that's our lamina propria, right there. So in this particular region, the villi would have also been sticking out of the screen at you guys as you viewed the slide. Yeah?
I kind of got lost in this one. The fine photos, that's not within the villi, right?
No, this
Right
is below the level of the villi. So last week, when there was some board space, I drew the perfect villi sticking up like this, and at the base of each villus was a shoulder and then a crypt that dived down. That's what we're in right now, the crypts.
Thank you.
Other questions about this slide, guys? Other than that, everything is basically the same as we saw in the duodenum. One thing we didn't see last week on the duodenum slide, though, were those Brunner's glands. A couple of you showed me Brunner's glands in the submucosa. There's a duodenum slide over there that's extremely thin and extremely narrow. A lot of those have Brunner's glands in the submucosa. So look at a variety of these small intestine slides to make sure that we see everything that's on your list. Everybody good with this one?